Hello, welcome to the Health In Show, an affiliate program of Homeopathy World Community. You've come to the right place to tune in and participate with your comments and questions. Love is the greatest healer of all. But sometimes, in order to change our emotions, we must take action in other spheres of our lives. We speak with experts in alternative and complementary health fields and hope you will benefit in some small or great way. Remember, you are wherever your thoughts are. Make sure your thoughts are where you want to be.
Welcome to the Health In, the premier show of Homeopathy World Community. The community is for homeopath made by Debbie Bruck, founded and yes, maintained by us. We miss Debbie Bruck, and today I am Dr. Deepak Sharma from India, currently as a CEO of Homeopathy Community. Welcome all of you to our show. This show is produced by Nishan Communication by Mr. Amnan. And in between the show, you can call us at 919-518-9773 by telephonic conversation. You can also call us by Skype at computer 2K voice. 2 is the numerical number. I am repeating computer 2K voice via Skype. So welcome for the today show. And today we have Manon Larose with us. Manon is also an director of education of Homeopathy World Community. We will talk about the first aid in homeopathy. As a disclaimer, I advise that we are not prescribing for the medication part. We are not prescribing to a patient. We are just talking with how the homeopathy will help in the first aid. This is a disclaimer from our side that we are not prescribing here on this platform without seeing patient. We cannot prescribe. So we will discuss it and how the homeopathy will help. So welcome, Menon. Thank you so much for joining us, and hope we will and everyone can have benefit and they will know about the homeopathy, how can help it in first aid. Please, please start.
Thank you, Dr. Deepak. I'm so pleased to be here today because homeopathy and first aid is one of my favorite topics because I find it so helpful and it's done so many wonderful things. So, to begin with, um, homeopathy, for those who don't know, is the science of using like cures like as a principle in order to prescribe a remedy that will help with certain pains. And first aid is great because you can see the benefits pretty much immediately. Um, so, a first aid kit would be a kit that has remedies that will most generally um, address things like bumps and bruises and scrapes and burns and cuts. Uh, so first aid for most people means bandages and band-aids and that kind of thing. But homeopathic principles say that you cure from the inside. So basically you cure by starting a healing response. And that's what the homeopathic remedies do. Um, so generally my patients, I set them up with a first aid kit if they're interested. And I'm going to take off the background because I can't show you. So my first aid kit looks like this. And whoops, and has a couple of extra remedies. This is double the size of most people because I have 6 children, or they're no longer children, but when they were children, and I have what I call outliers. So 10 remedies are usually the amount of remedies that I suggest that people have. It's very small. So the first aid kit with 10 is half the size of this one. People can have it in their pockets or their backpacks, and they can carry it with them, so they always have it. So the remedies themselves, there are different first aid kits depending on different labs. This is one that I make up myself for my patients, but you can buy them already made from all the different labs. And they have some varying remedies depending on what you're looking for or what the homeopath who put the kit together thinks should be the remedies. And years ago, I found this lovely poster, and I can't remember which homeopath had put this together. But in this poster, there are remedies, and these remedies are explained so that you can use them. Why is this important? Well, a homeopathic remedy is not like um, an allopathic first aid kit. So let's say that you cut yourself. A lot of people here will say you put on polysporin, which is an antibiotic. We don't we don't look at it that way. We say, what kind of pain are you in, and what has happened to you, and you take the remedy according to that. So my favorite remedy, what I call homeopathic poster child, is arnica. And so with arnica, I've had all kinds of wonderful experiences. Arnica montana, many of you know what that is. Just about everybody who knows anything about homeopathy has used arnica. But the body can heal in such a wonderful way that if you take a homeopathic remedy from the onset of the injury, I call it's almost like magic. So my first experience with arnica, before I knew much about homeopathy, I was pregnant at the time and was helping someone who had deep mental issues to basically clean up her house and wash her dishes because she was at a state where she couldn't do that alone. And we were washing the dishes, and she had left the cupboard door open, and I hit my head so badly that I saw the stars go around like you do in Bugs Bunny. I thought that was not a thing, but I actually saw the stars go around, and I thought I was going to pass out. And my first thought was, I'm pregnant, and if I pass out, this lady may not have the ability to call the ambulance or to help me because she doesn't have the wherewithal. I can't pass out. I have to protect my baby. So I thought of arnica, which I had discovered a little before. And as I was looking in the mirror, because I wanted to see the bruise, I was having this goose egg like you see in um, Bugs Bunny growing. I literally saw it growing. And so I took the arnica and I looked in the mirror to see if I was going to pass out. And I literally saw it reducing. And I thought, oh no, I am hallucinating. I'm in real trouble here. But actually, that was not it. I never got the bruise. So that convinced me that the body can heal very quickly when you address the problem very quickly. So I've been talking a lot, Dr. Deepak. Do you have any
No,
experiences with arnica that you'd like to share as
yes,
well?
yes. Many of the experience with the arnica, because arnica is the first aid remedy in homeopathy. First of all, who are not know about the homeopathy in this show, we've just told about the homeopathy is and the science in which the treatment is given by the basis of the collection of symptoms, collecting with the physical and the mental state. So if you are not aware about the homeopathy, you just first learn about the homeopathy and you see the magic of homeopathy in minimum doses. Homeopathy works with the minimum doses, as Manon is already told about a few doses of arnica have the effect. So about the arnica, I have a case of hypertension that will be released by the Arnica 3x potency. This is actually a wonderful case of mine, which will relieve within 5 minutes. That is less than the from any kind of other remedies. So homeopathy have the wonderful effects in the first aid cases. Yes, I know in many cases, like in the accidents or the severe bleeding, we cannot bear it without the stitches. But yes, homeopathic mother tinctures or the homeopathic dilutions are working very well. About the arnica, we should cautious about that you should not take arnica without any prescription of a homeopath. You just not take the potencies always have the important role in the homeopathic prescription. So first consult your doctor. If your doctor is made a kit and then given to you in the selected potency, it is very fine. But by self, without not knowing, you cannot select the potency. What you know, even the better to consult with a homeopath. So arnica have wonderful effect in the skin also. I have a case of bilateral itching in the hand. So for the bilateral symptoms, arnica is the first choice of remedy. So
Mhm.
it was the case of 24-year-old male who is then came with the allergy after a pain fallen on the or her head, and he's having the severe itching on both hands on this symmetrical basis. And I prescribed the arnica 30, and within 2 or 3 hours, the itching was gone permanently. It never appears. So arnica has a wonderful remedy. It has many effects. But as I already told, because we are on the public platform, we are not prescribing you. You just consult with your homeopath. You just search us. Just search a homeopath near to you and take the effects of the homeopathy. This is the wonderful idea, Manan. You already shown about the kit. Every homeopath every homeopath prescribe and distributing these kind of kits in India. We are also prescribing these kind of kits to our patients for the small children, for the acute injuries or acute cold, acute even for the hypertension, and even the aconite is also a wonderful remedy for the chest pain in which you are having the effect more than other medication. So homeopathies have the wonders for first aid.
Yes, and in those cases of hypertension and skin disease, you really need to consult with your homeopath, because if you're using homeopathy in first aid, you'll know things like arnica. I instruct my patients on the remedies, and they learn to use them. So basically, they have the backup of their homeopath at any time. So arnica would be the shock remedy, if you like. I've been hit by a Mack truck, um, but you wouldn't know yourself to take it in hypertension. Like Dr. Deepak said, this was a remedy that he prescribed because, being a homeopath, he knows that this was the right remedy. Also, in bilateral uh, affections, most people don't know. Arnica in viral infections, most people won't think of. But in first aid, it'll be the remedy that you will take when you've had a shock or bruising, if you've hit your head because your brain sloshes in your skull and you will crush the capillaries. So we know that it affects capillaries and muscle. So we know it can be used in things like heart attack and skin infections and things like that. But as a first aid remedy, you wouldn't be using it quite that way. And we don't suggest that you do consult your homeopath for that. So what are the first aid remedies, sorry, that you want to have on hand? Arnica for bruising and for concussion, um, calendula for burns. We we bake a lot, we cook a lot in our family, so a lot of people will get burned. Um, and calendula helps greatly if you have young children and they skin their knee or they have that kind of um, accident where they get what I call rug burn pains. Um, Calendula is great. Roost tox is for any twisting pain. If you've turned your ankle, it's roost tox is most of the time, but sometimes some people get better relief with ruta because roost tox and ruta affect ligaments and tendons. So that would be the remedy that you would go to. Um, there is hypericum, which is what I call, I've just slammed my fingers in the car door remedy, those sharp pains that you get from nerve damage. Um, Hypericum is the remedy you would go to. What else do I have in this? Apis. Oh, um, I have an experience with apis, which is interesting. I stepped on a dock and disturbed a hornet's nest, and I stepped right on top of it, and all the hornets came up, and I got stung. I had been stung before, and it wasn't very painful, but in that case, the pain was excruciating. It was a burning pain. I wanted it to go away. And so I had my first aid kit with me and I took a dose of Apis and it took 5 seconds and the pain was gone. So the homeopathic remedies are extremely potent. Um, and Apis is for stinging, burning, swelling, red pains that look like a bee sting because apis is means bee in Latin, actually. What else have I got? Ledum, and if you know which tissues the remedies affect, you can make a good choice. And as many homeopaths that I've listened to that are very wise and learned, if you have a first aid kit, get it in low potencies because they work very, very well. Dr. Shepherd, who was, she was a physician during the Second World War, used these remedies in 6C potencies, which are very, very low. For a wounded soldier, she was on the front, and she used it in on soldiers who had been shot and injured in warlike circumstances to great effect. That's how powerful these was. She actually wrote in her book that all her colleagues had less success with their interventions than she had with her tiny little doses. So homeopathic remedies in first aid have been used, and it's not the tininess of the dose is not what matters. What matters is that it begins a healing response and your body can heal. And that's what you want because we're designed to heal. So you need to get the right remedy to get that healing response engaged. And if you can do that, you can heal from very serious conditions, even with tiny, tiny little doses. The difficulty is finding the right remedy.
Yes, definitely. The first thing is many of the listeners are thinking about that. Why should take homeopathy? So you truly said that the homeopathy is having a minimum of the side effect, almost negligible. It
Mhm,
is very easy to take. Just a small sweet pills will do a magic. So
mhm,
why we go for the bitter taste tablets? So homeopathy is a wonderful remedy, and remember one thing: homeopathy is working on your physical and mental state both. So it is the only science of the world who is working together with the physical and the mental symptoms. So this is the beauty of homeopathy. So if you are not using the homeopathy yet, we suggest that you just try to take a small pills of that sweet pills of homeopathy. So yes, Manan, it is wonderful going on. And in between the show, I remind if you have any kind of question, you can call us at 919-518-9773, or you can call us via Skype at computer 2K voice. So Menon, you are talking about the arnica and a few more medicine, and here I am adding about the headache. This is the most common symptom in every kind of people are facing day by day in day-to-day activity. And for the headache, the belladonna and clonine is the wonderful remedies.
mhm.
What you think about that, where you want to give the belladonna, where you want to give the clonine, there are a little difference between the congestion of the headache. So belladonna and clonine is for the headache, and for the eye flu, like that in many countries, eye flu is the most common viral infections with the conjunctivitis. The redness of the eye is there, and it
Mhm.
will be spread to people to people. So argentum nitricum and rustox is again a wonderful remedy. You included the rustox for the ligament injury, but rustox is also a wonderful remedy for the conjunctivitis or the eye flu. This is
Oh, well,
again,
absolutely. But
and
these would be more difficult for someone to prescribe for themselves.
yes,
So the first aid remedies are mostly the remedies that people would use when they have bumps and bruises. But when you're thinking of headache, generally I wouldn't consider headache an acute in the sense that most people who have their first headache will have taken Tylenol. They wouldn't so they would need to consult with a homeopath because it's only a concern if the headaches keep coming back. And then you're in chronic. So acute is something that's violent, recent, and new. So you fall down the stairs. This is not your chronic condition. You haven't you don't fall down the stairs and suffer from bruising for, your whole life. Um, if you're not generally a person who gets flu and you get the flu for the first time, that's an acute to you. Whereas if you get the flu recurring every year and you tend to always get sick, you're in chronic. So when I'm talking about first aid, and that's why I say this is for people who want to have a kit and just um, take it with them instead of bandages and whatnot. Um, this would be uh, for those things. This is what most people can get their heads around and understand. Okay, if I hit myself, I hurt myself, I'm bruised, I can take arnica. I know that's the right remedy. Whereas in the case of your bilateral pains, I agree. It's the knowledge of the homeopath that allowed you to prescribe the arnica in this case. But I think what Dr. Deepak was trying to illustrate is that arnica is not just for bumps and bruises. Um, it can do a lot of other things. Um,
yes,
it's actually, oddly enough, I'm going to to introduce a new word here. It's actually, I believe, the Genius epidemicus for the flu in my region this year.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is a Genius epidemicus is a remedy that is um, prescribed for an epidemic that's just starting in an area. In my area this year, I've had 4 people that have started the flu, and each of them, the symptoms pointed to arnica, and the arnica were.
Great.
So that would mean that in this area right now, most people who are catching this virus are catching an arnica type of flu for some reason. And
Mm.
arnica is a remedy that addresses viral infections as well. But you wouldn't know this. Even if you have the kit, you wouldn't take arnica for your flu because it's not the one you would think of.
Great. And in India, especially in the northern India, the epidemic of the flu and the medicine is coming here, the brainia.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it will cover all kind of fever and the symptom of the coryza and the running nose. It will cover all kind of symptom. So here in North India, remedy is brainia. So this is actually a beauty of homeopathy because the individualization is the keynote.
Mhm.
Every time the medicine might be changed.
Exactly. So
Yes,
that's why in those cases, you would call a homeopath and get a good prescription, because it will, get you out of trouble quickly.
yes. And
So oh, sorry?
please. Oh, sorry.
One of the interesting things that I was going to mention is that our first aid remedies are generally plant-based. So all of our dilutions are made from different substances, and they can be animal, mineral, vegetable, or imponderable. Imponderable are energy medicines like X-ray and electricity and that kind of thing. So we have 4 categories of substances that we use to make up our homeopathic dilutions. And in the case of first aid, as well as PTSDs, which basically are first aid situations that were not resolved properly, um, they are generally uh, healed or help with plants. So plants are extremely powerful in first aid. Um, And the other thing that I wanted to point out is that the plant base or the mother tincture do not act the same way as the dilutions. And the reason this is important is, for example, Arnica montana, which we've been talking about a lot, is a plant. And it used to be used, you take the plant, you would crush it, you would put it on the bruise, and it would work. But if you take it internally, if you were to eat the plant, you would end up with internal hemorrhaging. So it would be very toxic. Whereas with the homeopathic dilution, you can actually resorb internal bleeding. So it does the opposite of the plant. So that's why it's important to know the difference between how the plant in its natural um, uh, material form works and how it works in its diluted form, because the results, the responses of the body to both can be very different, which is another reason that when you get the cream for arnica, you have to check that it's either a homeopathic preparation or a plant preparation. So phytotherapeutic would be plant-based, and homeopathic preparation would be diluted. So you would take the homeopathic dilution and put it in a cream rather than take the plant and put it in a cream. So these things are important to know because many of our plants, like aconite, which Dr. Deepak mentioned, are extremely toxic if taken in their plant form, but extremely therapeutic when taken in diluted form. Is that right, Dr. Deepak?
Yes, perfect, perfect. Every time, even you said about the dilutions, we already have the different kind of dilutions. So there is no dependency on the only one dilution. This is also the symptoms are also changing with the dilutions and the potencies. So this will only decided by the homeopath. So we again recommended if you have if you all are listening our show and you are planning to take an arnica, you just consult with your homeopath near to you. He or she will decide you're the perfect potency or the perfect dosage or the perfect dilution which will suit you. So this is wonderful, Manan. And what other thing about the arnica?
Oh, I have a fascinating case, which shows how perfect arnica is in cases of concussion. Um, a person I knew had had 6 or 7 concussions and was told by his doctor that if he ever got another concussion, it would create permanent damage because there were so many cases of concussion. And unfortunately, this person was exposed to a situation where they got a very severe hit on the head. And they basically became blind from that hit on the head. And as they were after that injury, they were saying, "Oh no, please don't tell my wife. I will get in so much trouble because I have had another concussion and I was warned not to do this." And his wife was standing right there. And I asked her, "Is it okay if I give him something for it homeopathically?" And she said, "Oh, please do." You know, she just nodded. So he didn't know he was blind. He didn't know she was right there. And so I happened to have arnica with me. I had it in 200. I gave it to him. One of the impressive things to me at the time was that when I put it on the side of his mouth, just a few drops, um, his tongue came out. If you see a snake's tongue and it darts out when it's trying to smell its environment, when it feels in danger, it was that kind of movement. And I went, oh my goodness, he's looking for, it looks like he's looking for the arnica. Um, and just as he was doing this, and I was thinking about observing him, he went, "Oh no, you're there," to his wife. So his vision returned immediately. We had called the ambulance um, because it was a serious injury. The ambulance took him to the hospital. His brain was imaged, and he told me afterwards that doctors who were also his colleagues were really surprised that there was absolutely no damage to his brain. That they figured he hadn't been hit that hard since there was no lesion on the brain on imaging. So I got confirmation that the arnica had helped to the point where there was no visible damage on imaging, and I thought that was very, very cool.
Great. The another thing about the arnica is when you use its mother tincture in your hair oil, it will stop the hair falling.
Oh, that would make sense if you've got hair loss due to a low immunity, because that's one of the reasons for hair loss. Everybody thinks that it's hormonal. It's one of the reasons, but it
Yes.
can be immunological as well. So yeah, arnica for that kind of hair loss would be very useful. I hadn't thought of it.
Yes. And another, the first aid is for abdominal pain. Many times we had abdominal pains, and the homeopathy works well in every kind of abdominal pain. And the Nux vomica is my favorite always. Corosynth are there. Ipecac for vomitings or the nausea is a wonderful remedy. So homeopathy works well, but you
You
understand
need
what the
just
brain.
those for stomach pain, there's so many different reasons for the stomach pain, so many different remedies. So
Yes,
that you have to consult your homeopath on. But Nux vomica, if you've had too much to eat or drink at, alcohol, I mean, at family gatherings. We just had Thanksgiving here. I'm in Canada. Uh, if you've eaten too much fatty foods, which we usually do at these things, or had too much alcohol, where you have actually ingested your liver, which is not a good idea, Nux vomica will definitely relieve you quickly.
yes. And in every kit, Nux vomica is there. If you have nothing and only have the Nux vomica, and Nux vomica can cover many kind of symptoms. So this is again a wonderful remedy. And like that, we have is conium for the neck pains. If you have a severe cervical spondylitis and your neck is not going to straight, then conium is one of the wonderful remedy we are using in homeopathy. So in my clinic, I am making the doses of 18 medicine for
Oh,
the different kind of acutes for the first aid, and most of the time there is no need of 19th medicine for any kind of symptom. So we cover all kind of symptom, and in 18 medicines we cover almost everything.
oh, that's great. I'd like to have the list of your first aid.
Yes, and even we have the case of the severe sneezing started it 2 hours back. Then Avena sativa is the medicine we always have
Which
in the
one do you use?
Avena sativa.
Oh, I use Natmure. In
Yeah,
Canada, when you start a cold with the sneezing from the
no,
cold?
I'm talking about the sneezing only.
Okay,
There is no cold, but
okay.
sneezing is there. The regular and constant sneezing are there. The Avena sativa is the only medicine.
Oh, okay. No, no, I
Only,
understand what you're saying. In our
only
ca
a fumes. And only a fumes of Avena sativa, 30 or 6 potency will resolve the case.
what
So
Dr. Deepak is talking about when he says the fumes is that Hahnemann had done, some experimentation with very, very sensitive patients where he would deliver his remedies by olfaction. Olfaction means nose, smelling. So, he would put the remedies in some water and he would make the person just sniff them. And that would be enough to actually start to act. Uh, and that is, people don't believe this, but, uh, and when I read it, of course, studying, I was skeptical. How can sniffing a remedy possibly work? But obviously, the nervous system reacts to smells, the particles, I guess, in smell. Uh, and I have, speaking of Nux vomica, a fantastic um, case where there was a gentleman who never had used homeopathy. He was far away, but his daughter was a patient of mine. And he had had pneumonia. And for the first time in his life, he was in his 40s, I think. He had never been sick. And he got pneumonia. He was rushed to the hospital. He was given an antibiotic. And the next day, he was discharged because the pneumonia was fine. And as he was showering to leave the hospital, he had a spinal aneurysm, I think, and was paralyzed from the waist down. And they had sent physiotherapists and all kinds of physical therapists to try to get him to walk again, and nothing was happening. And being so young, his daughter said, "Can you do anything?" And I said, "Well, first of all, he's very far away. I don't know. And secondly, I'm not in hospital. If I were in hospital, I could help, but I'm not in hospital. I don't know what his surgeon will say about this." So happened the surgeon would have, I spoke to him, and the remedy that came up on the symptoms was Nux vomica, but the surgeon would have none of it. He said to his patient, "If you take anything other than what I prescribe to you, I'm discharging you. You are no longer my patient." Now, this is illegal in Canada, but still, this poor man was far away with no care. If his surgeon discharged him, he was in trouble. So the situation was a little bit difficult. So, and he would not take it behind his surgeon's back. He would not do anything that his surgeon was not okay with. And I agreed with that. So I said, "Ask your surgeon if it's okay if you sniff it." And he said to his surgeon, "Is it okay if I sniff it?" And the surgeon thought this was crazy. And he said, "I don't care if you sniff anything, but don't drink it." So I said to his daughter, "Try it. We'll see what happens." And after he took it by olfaction, I told him the way that Hahnemann writes it in the organon, start with the right nostril, then wait, I forget how long, and then do the left nostril. And he took just the right nostril, and his toes started to wiggle. And his physiotherapist was able, after that, to give him all the physiotherapy he needed. And within 2 weeks, he was walking again and he was fine. And so, of course, everybody said it can't be the homeopathy because all he did was sniff the bottle. But before that, they'd been working with him for 2 weeks and nothing was happening. So, was it the homeopathy? I think so.
Yes, and I always invite these kind of skeptics who are not believing on this kind of methods. So I am telling that you just take a fume of sulfur CM potency and tell me after 1 month. So
Don't do that to yourself.
so so do not worry because the lovers of homeopathy know about the effect of homeopathy even with a single pill.
No,
Even
and what Dr. Deepak was saying is not dangerous. You will just have all kinds of symptoms that you won't like. They will
yes,
go away. They will not kill you, but you will go through an unpleasant moment that will prove to you that something's happening.
and not in the urgent. You will report me after 10 or 15 days or after a month. So yes, this is not killing you, but this will
No.
change you. This will change your chemistry.
Yeah, well, it will definitely show you that homeopathy has an effect.
Yes. And only the fumes have the effect. This is
Yes.
this is what only. So yes, in India, we have many cases of renal stone,
Mm,
kidney stones, and
ow.
when they impact in the ureter or in the urinary bladder or in the pipe from the urine passes, so it will create the severe pain.
Mhm.
And when because I'm working on the renal stones cases, so in every case I advise to take a diascoria or the belladonna when you have the pain. And even those pain even not reduced by the injections, it will relieved by the homeopathic doses with only a sweet pills. So this is also a wonderful remedy for the acute pains which cannot be controlled by the injections. So, but it will decided by the doctor. It will decided by a homeopath only. You cannot
Yes.
decide which medicine will works you. So yes, in acute cases when we have we already discussed about the coryza and the sneezing and the injuries and the bruises. So we have many kind of emergencies which can be handled by the homeopathic medication.
Mhm.
But yes, in the only in the under observation of a homeopath or a doctor.
But that's what I like about the homeopathy is that it works faster than any other method. So it's very, very effective. If you have the right remedy, it works right away. And I'll give you an example. My son, when he was a young adult, went camping and fishing with a group of friends. And he stepped on uh, either a hornet's nest or something like that. And they were 30 minutes from the car. And I got a phone call from his friend. He was probably delirious at this point. He had been bitten over 25 times. They had to carry him to the car and they were afraid that he was going to become anaphylactic and die. They were distressed. Of course, when they called me, I was distressed too. Um, and he had taken Apis from his kit because he had his kit with him. He had taken Apis and nothing was happening, nothing. And he was swelling up. And I told his friend, okay, if it's not Apis, try Letum. And they gave him Letum. And I was on the phone and I was staying on the phone and the, it was very, very serious. And within, I'd say 15 minutes, he was speaking to me. He was coherent. The swelling had gone down. And I told him, okay, you're coming home and you're getting checked out because this is very, very serious. And we have to make sure you're okay. But the APIS didn't work, but the Letum worked very quickly. So it is important that you get the right remedy.
Um,
Yes.
let me break in a second here.
Mhm.
Gillian on the chat is saying when the general public are using the homeopathic remedies for first aid use, do you prefer that they have a kit with 30C potency or higher? 200
No,
200C first aid kits have become popular.
no, don't do that. Hey, the 6C is will work. Here's how I prescribe. My patients have 30 Cs because I trained them and I'm always available to them. My patients can text me at any time, night or day. This is my contract with them. If they need first aid and they used the remedies they think are the right ones and they're not working, they can text me and I'm okay with that. Not every homeopath does that, but that's my contract with them. So the way I explain it to my patients is the right remedy will work in lower doses. If the injury is severe, you will have to repeat it. And there's a way to repeat it. So the dry granule dose is the smallest dose. This dose is the most minute. So basically they take their their kit, their if they're in real distress and they have no water, they take it, they put it under their tongue, and the deal is don't repeat it dry. Take it dry if you have to in an emergency, no problem, but don't repeat it dry. Find a bottle of water, put the next granule in the bottle of water, succuss it twice, and repeat it if the pain returns. So in a lower dose, you may have to repeat it often, but don't prescribe for yourself in high doses just in case you've got the wrong remedy. Because as Dr. Deepak said, even in olfaction, just take, he was suggesting sulfur in what, XM or M, something high.
Mm.
You will then have all the symptoms of a remedy that you don't need for a longer period of time if you take it in a higher dilution. So if you make a mistake in 200, you may be stuck with symptoms that don't have anything to do with your injury, and it confuses the case, and it's really not worth it. So if Dr. Shepard could use 6C in soldiers that had shrapnel injuries and bullet wounds and horrible, horrible injuries, it'll work for you too. So
Hmm.
start in 6, maybe 30, but nothing higher.
Yes, most of the homeopathic companies around the world is making the acute kit only in the 30 potency and a few in the 6 potency. So 30 potency is the commonest potency which can be used without a prescription many times. I'm not advising except in the acute remedies. So 200, 1 m or the higher potencies will never be prescribed without a homeopathic prescription. Even the lowest potency from the 6C and the lower potency is also not prescribed without a prescription of a homeopath.
Not
So
over long periods,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
If you
6
try
and 30.
one,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
okay,
Yes,
but
6
don't
and 30
repeat.
potency, 6 and 30 potency can be used by a person who is not aware about the homeopathic prescriptions.
Mhm,
And even I always advise and I always written in the kit that you cannot be continue medicine more than 3 days,
mhm.
maximum for the 3 days. If you have no result, you just consult me.
Oh, if
Or
it
you,
hasn't worked in 3
yes,
days, you've got the
yes,
wrong remedy.
yes,
So that's pretty much what you have to remember in homeopathy. If you have the right remedy, it's gonna work. If you
yes,
have the wrong remedy, don't insist. And if you took one dose and you feel great, don't take another one because it felt so good. Leave it alone.
yes.
You're healing.
You're
Only
hearing.
only take a homeopathic remedy if there are symptoms that are guiding you to need something. So those are the times when people get themselves in trouble with homeopathy, is when they take it because they think they should, like people who start a vitamin and they just keep taking it, even if though there's no reason to take it. You don't do that with a homeopathic remedy. So Dr. Deepak has been telling you over and over again, don't just go and take homeopathic remedies and self-prescribe over and over, and he's right. But don't be afraid to try in low potencies, 6 or 30 at the very top. So
Yes.
thanks, Jillian, for that question. That is a very good point.
Yes, and thank you, Manan, for this wonderful knowledge. And today's show is going around the Arnica. So I'm including one more thing about the Arnica montana. The complete name is Arnica montana. We are prescribing in different kind of doses, and even in the sixth potency, the Arnica is also used for to remove your specs. So I'm using it in many children. The Arnica 6C can reduce your numbers of your eye, and even it can remove your specs in the children.
So
So
you
this
mean I
is
should try
no,
to take arnica for my
yes,
mistake?
yes, yes,
I will try it. I will see.
yes, I, yes, you will try it. Definitely, the number will reduce. I'm talking about the children. So many of the children remove the specs from the using of Arnica CH. But I request, please do not use without the prescription. You just consult with your homeopath. It might be a remedy of netramure, it might be a remedy of spigelia for eye, but Arnica 6C is wonderful remedy to remove your specs. And even I am not using specs in my 47 of years of age because I am regularly on the homeopathic remedies. I'm not
It's
telling
because
about
you're
which
still too
remedies.
young, Dr. Deepak.
So,
I didn't have specs at your age either.
I'm not telling the remedies, but I'm frequently using the homeopathic remedies. And
Oh, good.
since 2018, I am even during the COVID, I am not using another remedies other than homeopathy. I'm only using the homeopathic remedy for myself and for my family. So
Mhm.
this actually the homeopathy is for the first aid, for the acute, for the chronic, every kind of case you can use the homeopathic prescriptions. So this is wonderful, Manon. You are today for talking about the first aid and using the homeopathy during the first aid, especially thanks to the arnica. So,
Absolutely. Oh, I have another one that's fun. I never get nosebleeds ever, ever. And I'm talking about myself because um, they're the most extraordinary results because I'm there when I use the remedies. But a lot of my patients report that the first aid worked miraculously. They often say it's like magic. So, and
Richard
it
Richard is adding, he says, arnica was the go-to remedy in wartime for concussion by explosions. Then,
yes.
and he says, thank you to both of you.
Oh
Then
well, thank
Jillian
you.
is saying, I think we are a bit late for the arnica regarding our specs.
yes.
Maybe you're right. I hope you're wrong though.
So we
So
will train the children. You can try it for the children near about you. So this is wonderful show, Manan. You
oh,
made the
thank
show,
you.
and thank you so much. And thank you, Nishan Communications, and thank you, Amnan. You are always be there. This show is for everyone. This is a premier show of Homeopathy World Community. And if you are a homeopathy, if you are listening, you can join the Homeopathy World Community at www.homeopathyworldcommunity.com. This is a community for homeopath and made by homeopath, founded by Debbie Brack. We always salute her. We are trying to maintain the legacy of Debbie to maintain the by maintaining the SWC. So we welcome on the show every time. This show will be happen in once in a month on the second Monday at 9 a.m. EST. So this will be always be done by Nishan Communication from the starting until today. So many times I thanks to Emnam, many times I thanks to Nishan Communication, and today I especially thanks to Menon, Richard sir, and Gillian, and who all are with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Deepak. Have a nice week, everyone.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.